I'm Corbett Wall with DVAuction, here with your feeder flash for Wednesday, May the 8th, brought to you in part by Livestock Risk Services. That's Dakota Moss there in the Exchange Building at the Oklahoma National Stockyards. Missed a call from Dakota Moss on Tuesday. Wanted to change up what I'm telling you about them, but we'll change it up on the next time we talk to them, talk about them. But they are your LRP specialists, guys. And get a hold of Dakota or any of his agents that are in and around the outside edges of Oklahoma there. They can help you absolutely anywhere that you're at, and they can answer any question that you have about LRPs. If you think the premiums are too high, I'll agree they are kind of high. Look at the market volatility we've had over the last several weeks, guys. And those premiums pale in comparison. You need to rest easy on those cattle you have turned out this summer. Get a hold of them at livestockriskservices.com. Consolidation, and we know that we're getting more vertical in this cattle and beef business further we go. But in the past several weeks, maybe a couple months, there's been a lot of rumors swirling about some significant consolidation. Now, the ones that I've heard, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard them too, would be significant enough that I feel like the federal government would come in there with antitrust laws and not allow them to happen because it would be more like a monopoly type thing that we're going. But on Tuesday, I did see that they announced probably one of the bigger ones that's going to squeak through without any kind of antitrust problems there. But it's way out west, guys. And Central Valley Meats has acquired Cargill Meat Solutions processing facility in Fresno, California. So both way out west there. Both have been bidding against one another for cows. We know how high these cows have gotten. And so now we've eliminated one of the bidders out there. So now Cargill's, of course, still got plants closer to the Midwest. But as far as way out west there, and way out west, they probably have more cow demand, slaughter weigh-up cow demand than we have anywhere in this country. Now, we may not see as big of prices, but they've got good cow meat demand out there, as they have several processors out there. But now they have consolidated two into one there with Central Valley Meats and Cargill Meat Solutions of Fresno, California. Now, Central Valley Meats also owns Harris Ranch Beef and Harris Ranch Cattle Feeding. So that's getting kind of vertically integrated there. But that's an issue there for Western producers. But like I said, I've heard of some bigger deals that would shock you a little bit more, but I don't think they would get to come through because of the federal government. Now, the federal government likes to come in here and tell us what to do, what we can and what we can't do, and make us do things that we don't want to do. And of course, the latest is the mandatory EID tags and visual tags that's got to be in any of your breeding stock over 18 months of age. All your exhibition stock or rodeo stock or of things like of that nature. And I've still been getting calls. This has been for over a week now, about a week and a half, and I'm still getting calls from people that are pretty well versed in the market, and they said, we're not really going to be forced to put EID and visual tags in this breeding stock over 18 months, are we? Aren't they still just talking about it? No, yes, we are going to have to do it. And they're a little bit surprised, and they're like, are we still living in the free country in the United States? And I said, well, apparently you can still protest because there's a hell of a lot of that going on. So yeah, I guess it's as free as you want to call it. But this mandatory EID is something that they just did with the stroke of the pen. Secretary Vilsack did it. He just did it with a stroke of a pen. just as easy as President Magoo stopped those oil pipelines when he first come into office. Just as easy as that. And if you remember back in February when they were having the NCBA convention, I had been really preaching on this hard because they were going to support mandatory EID tags in all classes of cattle, even calves and yearlings, and all classes of feeder cattle. And I was really getting upset about that, and devoted several Feeder Flash episodes to it. And a lot of people were getting excited about it. They had some major grassroots pushback, and NCBA did not end up supporting that. Now that the mandatory EID on the breeding stock has come down, now some of their agents are coming out and saying, oh yeah, we were all for this all along. Just trying to stay, I guess, in the good graces of the government. I'm not really sure why, but this is just the first step, guys. You know that they are going to push to get the EID in all classes of cattle, and we are absolutely sunk in because it's not possible to get done. So as big of a pain in the ass as it's going to be to get all the breeding stock done, and I mentioned on a previous episode that, you know, when you put your heifers through and you calf food vaccinate them, go ahead and put a mandatory EID tag that has visual tag readership on it, and on your bulls whenever you get them tested to see whether they're any good or not. Go ahead and put one in then. But a lot of people are saying, you know, we really don't want to do that. And I guess you can do whatever you think you want to do. I think a lot of people are not going to do that until they threaten them with either not being able to market their cattle, or they start penalizing them some way, or make it where you can't move cattle. But it's going to stink here whenever it comes into law, and that's going to be within 6 months. But it has not yet hit the Federal Register yet. Now, it's been announced that that's what they're going to do, but it has not yet hit the Federal Register. Not sure how much good it would do to raise a big hell about it, but I think whenever they start trying to enforce this, if it is a rule that USDA is going to enforce, a lot of rules USDA has, they don't enforce. Like all the P&S regulations, they don't enforce any of those. I just mentioned to you that we've got a significant cattle packer that owns 2-3 packing plants now, plus a cattle feeding operation. That does not go past the P&S laws there, but that goes back to 1921, and they haven't enforced those laws all along. So whether or not they're going to enforce this, I don't know. I was looking some information on this, and I saw where Brett Kinsey, who is the president right now of RCAF, and he was quoted as saying, and he was talking to a friend of his that lives overseas, that they've pretty much lost all their free market system over there. And this fellow was in the cattle business or in the livestock business, and this fellow told him, he said, don't ever give up your competitive markets, and don't allow the government to mandatory track your livestock. That is the beginning of the absolute end. And here we've done one, and they're working on the other, guys. Let's talk about your board. On Tuesday, June live cattle futures up 65 cents at 177.62. August up $1.10 at 175.52. Your back months on live cattle up 92 to up 127. Feeder cattle contracts for May up 75 cents at 242.15. August up $1.55 at 254.42. And your back months on feeder cattle contracts up 157 to up 167. Because the grains didn't continue to push higher, they were off a little bit, but nothing like they were up on Monday. But corn futures down 3 1/4 cents at 453 3/4. May beans down 2 1/2 at 1232 1/4. Kansas City hard red winter wheat down 11 1/4 cents at 673 3/4. Fat cattle trade, of course, we didn't see anything major direct trade out of your 5-area feeding region on a private treaty type trade negotiated, but we did see that we had some in Iowa late Monday. Live sales ranged from 184 to 185, and some dress sales from 294 to 295. Not sure why anyone would do those live sales now. The dress not too bad, but the live sales were off a little bit there. But in fact, it did get reported. But we did find a market in a brick and mortar fat cattle auction in Yankton, South Dakota. It was Stockman's Livestock Market there, and they've got a good sale every week. The conventional fat steers and heifers sold steady to $3 higher in Yankton, from 182.5 to 187.5. The program cattle, which were not as well tested, the drug-free cattle were not well tested at all. Non-implanted cattle, which they have a lot of, sold from 187 to 192.50. That 192.50 was on some really high quality heifers, 36 of them that weighed 1467. So that's kind of where your market's at there. And of course, it'll just hinge on what the board does. I assume on what we do direct basis out of your 5-area feeding region. Box beef cutout values were mixed. Choice was off a little bit, down 27 cents is all at $298.49 after being up big on Monday. Selects were up pretty big on Tuesday, up $2.59 at $292.34, and that's a pretty narrow choice select spread for this time of year, guys. Slaughter running pretty aggressive so far this week. 244,000 through the first 2 days of the week, 7,000 more than the previous week, 9,000 less than the same week a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. If you like this report, this feeder flash video, market video, and you have a hard time finding it on a regular basis, the easiest thing for you to do to make sure that doesn't happen anymore is text the word flash to 209 Corbett, or the phone number 209-267-2488. It won't cost you any more than what your text charges are, which most people don't have that anymore anyway. But if you will text the word flash to 209 Corbett, it will automatically get you there, and it will text you a link to this report every business day. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market, your real-time index on DVAuction based on an 800-pound cash auction steer up through your middle 12 states. Late in the day on Tuesday, sitting at 241.47. That was up 64 cents after being down some after Monday's trade. Your latest CME cash feeder cattle index continues to plunge. It's down there at 239.53. Talk about some big sales coming up here on Wednesday. The Western Trail sale continues. That's those Tucker T cattle out of North Texas, guys. He's going to have several hundred in both Cherokee, Oklahoma, Cherokee sales, and OKC West, El Reno Livestock Market. Check out those sales. They will have some green yearling cattle and big drives there off that graze out wheat. Let's talk about your sales on Tuesday. Ozarks Regional Stockyard in West Plains, Missouri had 2,100 through the ring, another 1,200 through their in-house video that they do with help from DVAuction. It was a light sale. It was mostly all calves. Your steer calves were $2 to $10 higher, spots as much as $15 higher, with local demand because they've had some good rain right there in that area. So get some local demand. People want some light calves to background. Heifer calves sold steady to $6 higher, with spots as much as $12 higher, and feeder weight cattle were not well tested. Big sale up in the northern plains. Excuse me. Kimball Livestock Exchange in Kimball, South Dakota. They had near 6,000 head of feeders. It was your NationalBeefWire stick-out sale of the day. No sale to compare with last week, but I mean a humdinger up there at Kimball Livestock Exchange. Check this automated marker report out and check your best tested weights, which are mostly your heavier feeder weights. They sold 330 head of 7-weight steers. They averaged 765 at 274.69. 536 head of 8-weight steers averaged 858 at 248.17. 1,010 head of 9-weight steers averaged 935 with a weighted average price of 238.28. Now on the heifers, 310 head of 6-weight heifers averaged 642 at 279.69. 620 head of 7-weight heifers averaged 744 at 252.56. And 646 head of 8-weight heifers, Kimball, South Dakota, had an average weight of 864, weighted average price on those 8 weights of 224.65. Excuse me. Give you some individual quotes from all around. How about Rezac Livestock Commission in St. Mary's, Kansas? They sell 66 steers, weigh 864 at 253.50. Pretty impressive quote there in St. Mary's, Kansas. How about out east, guys? Knoxville Livestock Auction Center in Mascot, Tennessee. They sell 64 steers, weigh right on 800 at 801 at 243.75. They're in the southeast, not even included in your index, and they're $4 higher than your CME cash feeder cattle index, guys. Impressive sale for them. How about Imperial Auction Market in Imperial, Nebraska? They sell 56 steers, weigh 790 for 271. I'll guarantee you they went back to grass. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Tuesday, your Macrocin, no BS, top quote for the day, indeed come out of Kimball Livestock Exchange in Kimball, South Dakota. It was 220 head of the twisted land and cattle steers. They weighed 1,000 pounds right on the button and bring 237.75. Now, I'm not a mathematician, but that's nearly $2,400 a head. Now, you put another 500 pounds on them. Let's say you could do it for $1 a pound, which you really can't with expenses, but that would be $2,900. Taking them to 1,500 pounds, they'd have to bring 193. CME October live cattle futures are at 179. Ouch. That's your feeder flash for Wednesday.